'Tis the season for Ghosts and Ghouls, and to celebrate such a spooky time of the year, why not spend it by listening on some monsters and games that I'm glad don't exist in reality. I can only come up with 5 because I don't play horror games. At least, not that many of them. So this list is only going to consist of enemies from games I've played, hence why it's so short. However, if you are frightened by any enemy that isn't on this list, don't be afraid. No. To share it in the comment section below. Alright, enough chit chat, let's delve into some nightmarish monsters. Sonic Adventure 2, a beloved Sonic game that I cherish to this day. I don't care if it hasn't aged the best, it's still a pretty good game in my book. As a kid I loved this game to death, but I always stopped playing the hero story once I got to Pumpkin Hill. Sorry, I was a very paranoid kid back then, and I wasn't up for ghosts with razor-sharp teeth jump scaring me every chance they got. Thankfully, my older cousin managed to get past this level for me, as well as the other ghost-infested level being Aquatic Mine. However, nothing prepared me for what I was about to witness when we got past Death Chamber.
Huh? Who's there? What the... A ghost?
Okay, so maybe he's not shit your pants scary nowadays, but as a kid, when you're seeing this for the first time and you have to hear this, and this, you'd be scared too. He also appears again in Team Sonic Racing and is honestly arguably more freaky there. And he was even in an episode in Sonic X. You know, that one episode where Amy gets possessed and turned into this. I still wonder how I didn't get nightmares from that as a kid. The Legend of Zelda is definitely one of those popular video game franchises that took me a hot minute to get into. I didn't really fall in love with the series until I played Wind Waker. The HD re-release of Wind Waker, might I add. Yeah, from then on I wanted to play all the popular Zelda titles I could think of, and no, this isn't where you think this is going. Ocarina of Time is a pretty good Zelda game, albeit a bit overrated.
What the fuck?
But, since everyone and their mother was talking about Dead Hand and how it fucked with their childhoods, well, needless to say, I was fully prepared for what I'd be running into. Instead, let's talk about Skyward Sword, Aaron Hansen's favorite game.
Skyward Sword is my favorite game. 10 out of 10.
See, he said it himself. Now, despite the awkward motion controls, having to fight the imprisoned 3 times, and Fi not shutting up about basic shit I already know, I still enjoyed the game. There's one part where the peace and tranquility of this game is thrown out the window, and that's the Silent Realm. Now, the Silent Realm itself is relatively peaceful. You're given a fairly easy task: collect all the orbs, make your way back, don't get spotted by the Guardians, because if you do, you'll experience hell. I think the thing that makes this so tense for so many people is the sudden shift from quiet atmosphere to fuck. The Guardians don't play. The minute you trigger that alarm or your timer runs out, you better pray that another orb is nearby to reset it. These things will mercilessly hunt you down, and all it takes is one hit. Need I remind you that you're completely defenseless in the realm? Touching any of the water instantly alerts them, and these guys can sometimes teleport to your location. Now, these guys can be easily avoided if you've been through this before and you know what you're doing, but considering you have to do this 4 times total, it's only a matter of time before you screw up and you're suddenly public enemy number 1. Screw Redeads and Dead Hand, at least I know I can kill those things. These guys are untouchable. Next on the list we have Oh crap, did you hear that? Oh shit. Okay, I think it's gone. Man, that would have been bad if it hurt me. Oh, god damn it. If you ask me what enemy fans feared the most while playing The Last of Us, chances are they'd say the clickers. And rightfully so, because clickers are terrifying. They're basically the next step in the evolution of being infected. Clickers lose their ability to see but gain a heightened sense of hearing and make that awful clicking noise as a sign of echolocation. Similar to bats. Ironically enough, you can use this ability against them by sneaking quietly past them or luring them away from bottles of bricks, effectively avoiding any fights with them at all. However, it's harder than it looks, and when there's a clicker among a group of runners, or even worse, more clickers, things get even more complicated. Yeah, the bloater is a more dangerous foe, but considering you only encounter it like 4 times throughout the game, it doesn't leave as much of an impact. Clickers also kill in one hit the minute they touch you, so it's not like you can just melee them to death like runners if you're low on supplies. Don't even get me started on forced encounters with them, because their constant flailing makes them hard to accurately hit. Also, just bearing witness as to what the bodies of their victims look like afterwards is enough to make me squeamish. Makes me feel sorry whenever Joe gets killed by one. Although, if I'm being perfectly honest, the way he gets killed by a bloater is even worse. Now, there are a lot of things in the Metroid series that are pretty scary. Nightmare, Phantoon, heck, even Ridley himself is pretty terrifying. But I think, personally, that it's the Metroids that are the most terrifying. Sure, they're small and arguably kinda cute, but they're still dangerous. So dangerous, in fact, that Samus decided to eradicate all of them. Except for one baby, Metroid, that took her as a mother, but that's besides the point. Metroids are basically space leeches. On steroids. They drain the life from other living creatures by latching onto them, leaving them as nothing but lifeless husks afterwards. Each time they do this, they grow and molt into various stages of its life cycle. They start with the larva stage, then grow to alpha, gamma, zeta, and omega, and when certain conditions are met, you get the Metroid Queen. Interestingly enough, the Metroids were created by an ancient alien race known as the Chozo, who are the same people that raised Samus after she was orphaned. The Metroids were created to combat an even greater threat, being the X-Parasite, which has the ability to not only kill their prey, but also assimilate their DNA and their characteristics. But once that threat was taken care of, and the Metroids evolved, the Chozo could no longer control them, which eventually resulted in the destruction of their civilization as well. Metroids are pretty much a mainstay in the series, considering the entire franchise is named after them. It's the species themselves and their abilities that make them such a terrifying threat. Seriously, I haven't even talked about the multiple genetic experiments and mutations they've gone through from outside forces trying to weaponize them. The only consistent weakness they seem to share would be cold temperatures, which either make them sluggish or kill them flat out. So they're not totally unkillable. And it's this next entry that pretty much beats them entirely. A Hat in Time. What a lovely lighthearted game, full of bright and colorful characters, witty dialogue, and great humor. Until you get to Subcon Forest. Yeah, so Subcon Forest is pretty much the quote-unquote spooky level of the game. It has creepy headless statues that chase you whenever you're not looking at them, suicidal firefox creatures,
We want to die! Yay!
a killer toilet, I am not joking, and this guy. Who not only proceeds to steal your soul, but also force you into a contract of doing errands for him if you want to get it back. One of these errands in particular involves going to some old lady's manor and getting one of the hourglass pieces you need in order to fuel your ship. Sounds easy enough, but as you make your way to the manor, you realize it's kinda farther away from the actual forest compared to the other areas you've traveled so far. Kinda surprised someone even lives out here all alone. Sneaking into the manor itself is surprisingly easy. You enter the basement and
don't use them. Thanks.
Oh. Okay. Well, that's a bit weird, but whatever, I can manage. How scary can an old lady be?
What the hell?
That was Queen Vanessa. She's the obstacle standing in your way of getting to the attic, and man, this was a sudden shift. It's not like I can fault the game for not warning me. Have you seen the cover art for this act? This game went from standard 3D platformer to survival horror in a matter of minutes. Queen Vanessa stalks for you as you make your way through her manor. She cannot be harmed because you lose all of your abilities upon entering, which leaves you defenseless. All you can do is hide in various spots that allow it and pray you don't run into her. Getting caught by her is an automatic death by freezing. And you can see she's done this with many of her victims. What's more is that there is a bit of lore to this Ice Queen. She was once young, beautiful, and in love with a young prince. But due to a misunderstanding, the queen's heart was broken, and the resulting rage and sadness turned her into, well, what we see now. There may have also been a bit of an obsessive side with her prince too, so that could have contributed to whatever the heck she is now. You'll sometimes hear her calling for you too.
You're close by, aren't you? Come on out, little one. Don't be shy. I can hear your footsteps. Why are you hiding?
Super creepy. Now, the manor has only 2 floors, so it's less scary if you know what to do, and you can bypass her entirely if you know about the secret shortcut that leads straight to the attic. In fact, there was originally supposed to be a 3rd floor, but it was scrapped because the devs thought it wasn't fun, which I'm thankful for. It's nice to know that Gears for Breakfast were considered the people with the illest of hearts. And that about does it for my list of scary enemies in video games. Look, admitting you're afraid can be tough, but there's nothing more satisfying than conquering that fear itself. And while these enemies aren't the scariest around, they still scratch that itch. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this list, and I also hope you guys have a happy Halloween. I'll see you guys in the next video.